A woman is rescued from a terrifying sorcerer as she flees for her life. Out of nowhere, an old warrior appears from a statue and rescues her. The scared woman is reassured by the warrior that they are actually connected. In the beginning of the story, an irate mob forms in a normally tranquil village. As word gets out that Sasha's brother-in-law, Will, has been missing since this morning after destroying their property, the Han family house becomes a focal point of the uproar. In response, Sasha pays a monetary settlement to the villagers. Meanwhile, we have Yu as he haunts a wild beast. He manages to knock it down, but the beast suddenly awakens its true powers and charges at him. An intense battle ensues, and despite appearing to be in control, he manages to hold it off with his foot. Things are looking tough. Suddenly, an enigmatic man appears, grabbing the beast from behind and choking it to death. Instead of being thankful, you cry out in pain because you had been haunting the beast for months. Instead of being thankful, you demand compensation from the man, who gets angry thinking it's a scam. Fortunately, the man's uncle steps in and pays the bill. According to Xiaoyu, the old guy, they're on the hunt for his brother Motai, but you don't seem to know who he is. As he snatches the beast and bolts, the man is taken aback by when Xiaoyu returns home at night. The old guy wonders if you're a member of the Ma clan and chows down on your strength. Sasha applies ointment to Xiaoyu's wounds as soon as he returns home at night. She warns him of the beast's dangers, but he insists it was necessary for her remedy. Afterwards, he confides in Sasha the two individuals who had been searching for his brother. After recalling that Tai had written them a note, Sasha handed it to him. Xiaoyu inserts the letter into a gadget that resembles a projector. When his brother shows there, he informs him that he is going to the capital to be of service to the monarch. He leaves Xiaoyu with the instructions to study diligently and watch after the house. We jump to the present day and meet Xin, a girl, as she wakes up to a phone call while Xiaoyu is falling asleep. She hastily gathers her belongings and leaves after hearing about a new finding concerning the Quan dynasty. After she meets up with her senpai, Ling, he shows her the recently discovered tomb. In the past, a soldier arrives to fetch Sasha and bring her to the capital. Despite their questionable motives, Sasha decides not to cause a fuss and tags along. Xiaoyu is unable to comprehend this and pursues them. In a fierce battle, he pounces on the troops and kills most of them, but the captain soon overwhelms him, and he is arrested. While Xiaoyu implores to accompany Sasha to the capital, Sasha implores the captain for pity. Upon discovering that Xiaoyu is also a member of the Mo family, the captain makes the decision to include him on board. The enigmatic man and his uncle observe from atop the mountain, bemoaning the fact that they reached the scene too late to lend a hand. Slaves being cruelly treated and enslaved to labor for the Quan Empire is a horrific scene that Xiaoyu and Sasha see the following day. The head of state of the Quan Empire is our guest today. After consulting with his ministers, he learns that they have improved his elixir of longevity. In his excitement, the monarch makes an urgent demand for it, hoping to extend his life expectancy by 1,000 years. But the king sees through the elixir's forgery in no time, and he has the ministers brutally executed. At that point, we find out that the elixir actually belonged to Xiaoyu's brother Tai. Xiaoyu is ecstatic to see his brother Sasha as they are led into the palace. However, he rapidly comes to the realization that Tai is in fact a slave. The monarch refuses Tai's pleadings to free his family and instead threatens to have his wife try out his elixir. Even though Tai begs to be spared, the monarch insists on using him to construct his tomb. Although Sasha accepts her destiny, Xiaoyu manages to knock her out and implores to be the one to try the elixir. The monarch consents and gives Tai the order to turn his brother into a terracotta statue after he drinks the elixir. Our heroes Xin and Ling are back at the dig site, surveying their surroundings. A huge suit of armor catches their eye, and they can't help but gawk at the exquisite detail. The helmet's eyes flare and Ling vanishes as Xin gazes upon it. A cloaked guy approaches Xin as she searches for him, and the lights go out. The man, who introduces himself as Kiran and is a treasure hunter, is captivated by the armor as well. She kicks him in the nuts while distracting him since Xin can sense he's sketchy. After stealing the helmet from the armor, she tries to go, but Ling is unconscious. She struggles to get away, but her cries go unheard. Eventually, Qiren's monkey finds her. Qin flees as Qiren uses his powers to destroy statues. Qin tosses the helmet instead of giving it to him when he corners her and demands it. In his enraged state, Qiren attempts to end her life, but Xiaoyu snaps awake at that moment, seizing Qiren's arm and destroying him with a powerful punch. Xiaoyu can't help but think of Sasha whenever he sees Qin. She cries out in terror as he approaches, begging him to leave her alone. Excited that the longevity elixir rumors were genuine, Qiren gets back up. He leaps at Xiaoyu with his magic, trying to see if he can break through to the immortal realm, but Xiaoyu manages to survive. When several police officers show up, they are cut off. In a flash, Qiren's monkey snatches the helmet, and off they go. Qin tries to put some space between herself and Xiaoyu, but he still clutches her hand as if she is Sasha. Qin tries to explain herself to the police when they take them to the station, but the officers mistake Xiaoyu for her uncle. After the preliminaries are finished and Xiaoyu finishes her enormous dinner, he attempts to strike up a conversation with Qin, but she turns a blind eye and dashes off into the crowd. As he tries to get her to listen to him, Xiaoyu follows closely behind. Qin attempts to hail a cab and flee, but Xiaoyu tears off the door, causing the vehicle to crash. The situation escalates to the point where Xiaoyu is once again taken into suspicion by the police, who believe she is involved in an illicit relationship with Qin. Even though Shin's dad sent a lawyer to save her, she still doesn't approve of his intervention. At the same time, Xiaoyu is thrown into a cell and confronted by a group of vicious guards who attempt to assert their dominance over him. It was a poor decision because Xiaoyu easily defeats everyone. They express extreme regret to him. Xiaoyu insists on locating Sasha, but they inform him that he is in prison. Much to everyone's surprise, Xiaoyu demonstrates his magical abilities and manages to escape from the cell as the other inmates are brought to justice. After searching the city thoroughly, Xiaoyu finds Qin, collapses into her embrace, and passes out from exhaustion. He is in Shin's place when he wakes up. He finds her in the restroom after a quick search, but their encounter is less than pleasant. Unsurprisingly, this drives Qin absolutely bonkers, and she scolds Xiaoyu for spying on her. Xiaoyu assures her he will stop bothering her after she clarifies she is not Sasha. She informs him he can't follow her anymore after she gives him a new dress and tells him to call her Qin instead. Then they part ways. Upon starting her acting career, Qin receives the disappointing news from her director that her stunt double was unable to attend, forcing Qin to do the action scene solo. As successfully fending off a few assassins, Qin finds herself in a precarious situation as the safety rope snaps and she plummets from the roof. Xiaoyu miraculously shows up and rescues her. When he asks why she was under attack, she tries to tell him it's all an act. Despite his anger at the disruption, the director eventually reviews the tape and asks Xiaoyu if she wants to be a famous actress. Now that the worst has passed, Qin has decided to assist Xiaoyu in finding a bed. The noises of the city keep him awake at night, and all he can hear is her building's roof. Xiaoyu sees Qin in peril and quickly races to help. He faces an onslaught of rats that attempt to kill him, but he ends their threat by using his fire magic. Xiaoyu discovers a letter from Qiren, who requests to meet with him in order to rescue Qin. The blast eliminates the rats. Upon waking up close to a colony of rats, Qin is once again made fun of by Qiren. He then expresses his gratitude for her role in allowing events to transpire as it did after having his monkey use a banana to silence her. At the same time, Xiaoyu manages to evade the police and finds his way to Qin. With his scheme finally working, Qiren unleashes a tirade on Xiaoyu's warrior clan, gushing over their abilities. In contrast, Xiaoyu loses interest and carelessly knocks down his opponent. On the other hand, Qiren decides to confront Xiaoyu by releasing his monkey, which turns into a gigantic beast. The monkey strikes first with his fist techniques, but Xiaoyu maintains his composure and avoids the monkey's second strike. Xiaoyu launches into a devastating onslaught, hitting the monkey with lightning speed and precision. As he starts to unscrew the monkey's mask, Kieran gets sneaky and stabs him in the back to make things harder for him. Afterwards, he conjures forth a swarm of rats and lets them loose from the monkey's corpse. As Xiaoyu is ensnared by the rats, it appears like all hope is lost. In the midst of Kieran's gloating, Xiaoyu swiftly dispatches the rats, destroying his flute. He escapes from jail and sends Kieran hurtling out in all directions. The next morning, word gets out about Kieran and his evil schemes. The authorities apprehend Kieran, and the chief inspector documents the destruction of the historically significant structure. While Qin is engrossed on her phone news, Xiaoyu bursts in. Though he takes note of the information, Qin advises him to keep quiet about what transpired. As Xiaoyu recalls what happened last night, when Kieran had warned them about the secret treasure hunting organization that is closely watching them, the director calls Qin. A girl named Ari is changing her clothing when Xiaoyu, who is obviously upset about something, walks in on her. She screams, and Xiaoyu freaks out and takes pictures by accident. Qin is engrossed with Sue, the star actress, as he makes his way to the director. She insists on hearing from her lawyer and then leaves, ignoring his attempts to engage with her. Following this, Qin is taken to meet the producer by the director, who offers her the job of lead actress. In the meantime, Ari slaps Xiaoyu across the face for being a creep after he attempts to apologize. He tells a new friend he's already missed his chance while trying to explain his innocence. Their journey culminates at the prop room, a veritable treasure trove of swords, and Xiaoyu's expression changes to one of pure delight. After Qin signs the contract, the producer discloses that her new manager is actually Hong, her father, after she is persuaded by the director and producer. She has already signed the contract, so Qin can only express her strong opposition now. We find out that Shin's father was the reason for Sue's recasting while she is on the phone. Ari presents her costume, but Sue publicly humiliates her after she drops it. Xiaoyu sees this and tries to comfort him, but Qin bursts in and seizes his hand, setting off her father's alarm. Hong is quick to confront Xiaoyu, demanding to know how he is related to his daughter. But he is impressed that Xiaoyu can absorb his blow. It makes him think of the captain he fought before. In the future, Xiaoyu reflects on happy times spent with his brother, but he unexpectedly encounters Ari while he is hiding from some thugs. The men are attempting to extort her since her mother has a large debt to a mafia boss. Just as chaos is about to ensue, Xiaoyu walks in and makes fun of the men by using a simple trick to remove their pants. Ari flees from him in a state of despair when he inquires as to her well-being. She meets a nice guy at the bar who invites her out to dinner, but their evening takes a sinister turn when he puts something in her drink. Upon waking up in a hotel room, Ari finds out that the man she was dining with was actually the boss of the mafia. He attempts to dominate her, but she takes up a weapon and relentlessly hits him till he passes away. After killing someone, Ari decides to terminate her life, since she can't believe it. Suddenly, though, an enigmatic power catches her in midair. This supernatural being introduces himself as the producer and appears to be captivated by Ari's deep animosity. Just as Ari is about to accept his offer to grant her every wish, the unsuccessful actress unexpectedly awakens in the body of Sue. At this point, we meet an assassin from the treasure hunter company who has gotten Kieran out of jail and is taking him to see their master. Xiaoyu had escaped from a statue, which Kieran discloses once he arrives. Since the boss thinks there are a ton of valuables to be found in Xiaoyu, this leads him to request additional inquiry. Xiaoyu and Qin are taken aback by the large number of workers present when they visit the set the following day. Once again, Hong ends the couple's relationship, but his daughter quickly scolds him for being so dramatic. At that moment, Ari runs into Xiaoyu and expresses her gratitude for his rescue the night before. Nonetheless, he is unable to identify her because she is presently inhabiting Sue's body. Ari tries to adjust to her new life in a flashback. Now we're back in the present, when Playboy Damien tries to flirt with Ari, but she runs away to hide behind Xiaoyu, confounding him. After Damien offers her a sum of money in an attempt to win her favor, Hong shows up and shamelessly seizes the check. The men flaunt their money at each other, which Qin finds disappointing because he asserts that Damien's family hasn't repaid loans to him. When Hong's horse totally damages Damien's automobile, things start to heat up. Following this, Qin is escorted by the director to the set of the following scene, which is meant to portray a battlefield from Xiaoyu's time. Xiaoyu brings Qin tea as she reads from her script, and the two of them discuss how Qin ended up alive during this period. The sight of the ancient warrior startles her senpai, Ling, who pays her a visit. He proceeds to narrate the massacre that befell Xiaoyu's entire town, though, suggesting that he knows something about Xiaoyu's family tree. The king took the meteor's landing in the town as a sign of impending doom and gave the order to destroy the entire settlement. The enigmatic figure who had rescued Xiaoyu later launched an assault on the capital. Tai stands at his side, relieved to see the downfall of the despotic monarch. The man then ignores Tai's advice and leads his soldiers on a raid of the king's tomb. They face an onslaught of zombies as soon as they unlock the tomb. Then comes a fierce fight, but an arrow barrage eventually dispatches the animals. A flaming phoenix appears just as they are about to step inside. In response to the men's negative interpretation of the sign, the guy chooses to reseal the tomb. Returning to the present, Xiaoyu's heart breaks upon hearing the news that his loved ones had passed away. He is inspired to find out what really killed his family by Ling. The next scene depicts Xiaoyu engaged in what appears to be a shooting scene from the real battle. Ari tries to strike up a conversation with him during their break. Amy sneaks up on the pair from the bushes and hatches a plot, and Qin appears envious of him. Nevertheless, Hong promptly arrives and dismisses him. After receiving a strange call, Han quickly meets up with a blonde detective who is assisting the treasure hunters. He shares photos of Kiran with Hong, but he does make note of the involvement of the treasure hunter company. We find out that Hong was once an employee, and he cautions the detective against going after his daughter once more. By bringing up the missing son of Hong, the investigator flips the script. Eventually, things calm down, but initially, it infuriates Hong to the point that he physically threatens him. Meanwhile, Damien has not forgiven Hong for the way she embarrassed him. An underling of his proposes, bringing in a gigantic warrior to assert his power at that moment. Qin later searches high and low for Xiaoyu, but to no avail. Despite this, she does discover a few notes that he has been keeping. She finds out that Xiaoyu is researching his family's history by analyzing artifacts from his tomb. During Qin's nighttime journey to the tomb, a stray cat gives him a little panic. In an abrupt appearance, Hong yanks her aside and orders her to depart without more delay. When Qin and Ling cross paths, Ling is in possession of information about Xiaoyu, and Qin demands answers from her. Years ago, Hong's older brother was carried through an enigmatic gateway, and she lost him. At the same time, Xiaoyu finds a marking while searching the tomb. He and Sasha reminisce about a time when he couldn't locate his brother's book, but Sasha showed him the markings on the page. Damien threatened to pursue Xiaoyu if Ari did not return to him when he called her. The producer appears to take control of her body as a result of this. She is taken aback when Qin tells her that Xiaoyu holds the secret to her brother's whereabouts. For concealing such a significant secret, she becomes enraged with her father. Despite Hong's assurances that he concealed the information from her for her safety, she remains unconvinced. Someone from the company's assassin squad walks in and interrupts them. Immediately, Hong orders Qin and Ling to leave, and then he and the assassin fight fiercely. Despite landing some impressive punches early on, Hong's dominance is quickly broken when he is tackled to the ground. After losing his edge, Hong uses a scarf to fling the man aside. Qin remembers her time with Xiaoyu, who vowed to defend her with his life as they continue to battle. If she wants to know the truth, she thinks she has to find him. As Xiaoyu keeps digging into the tomb, he discovers a plethora of symbols encircling the site where the armor suit once stood. Out of nowhere, he crosses paths with the investigator, who goes by the name of Li. Pretending to be a treasure hunter, he strikes up a conversation with Xiaoyu, who offers to team up with him. However, Li rejects and departs to investigate other regions. Out of nowhere, we find ourselves on the set of the film, where Damien and his crew forcefully disrupt the filming. They become aggressive and begin to damage the machinery. Damien materializes from behind the director as he threatens to contact the authorities. In response to the director's growing anxiety, Damien presses for more on Xiaoyu. The director loses it and reveals all he knows, including that Xiaoyu is a legendary warrior from ancient times. Ari tries to diffuse the tension with an abrupt appearance. While Damien attempts to maintain his composure by making fun of Xiaoyu, Ari loses her composure and unknowingly slaps him. To hold her down, he orders his guys. Xiaoyu hears Shin's cries for help as she returns to the wreckage to find him. As soon as she spots the sorcerer Kirin in her live feed, she starts to freak out. At the same time, Xiaoyu activates the symbols encircling the platform using his abilities. As light illuminates the central platform, Xiaoyu is encircled by zodiac symbols. The boulder straightens itself out and becomes a support column. Ling, meanwhile, snatches Shin and warns her that it's risky. For collaborating with her father, she holds him in her fury. When asked why her father put money into her acting career, Ling says it was so he could have his men defend Xiaoyu from the treasure hunters. As Kirin materializes out of nowhere, Ling is taken aback. Li shows there in a pretty upbeat manner, interrupting his spell and preventing him from capturing Shin once more. After Kirin expresses his annoyance, Li informs him that he was bribed by Hong. Shin seizes the chance to flee during the earthquake. Xiaoyu must have discovered the treasure, Li remarks. When Kirin sends his rat army charging at him, Li whips out a paper cat and dispatches them all in an instant. While inspecting the pillar, Xiaoyu notices a gap that corresponds to the amulet that his brother had previously bestowed to him. The pillar lights up as soon as he inserts it. Beyond, Hong has the assassin under control, but the man has an unexpected metamorphosis into a massive werewolf. A flash of light appears as they fight, and Hong has a sudden vision of a son. Xiaoyu and his brother spot the enigmatic figure, but everyone else notices the passing soldiers. Xiaoyu seemingly vanishes into thin air as she transforms into a beam of light. In the distance, Ari and Damien can make out a massive light beam. They are likewise whisked away, leaving what seems to be just Ling remaining behind. Guests of great honor are welcomed to the modest home of Lord Lujin in a parallel universe. Xiaoyu welcomes them with open arms when the doorway outside his tent unexpectedly opens, allowing him to enter. The real-life Damien and Ari's men pursue the director because they believe he is responsible for their disappearance. Soldiers in the other world celebrate for Shin when she awakens, recognizing her as a commander. But she is bewildered and unaware of what is happening. Xiaoyu is initially seen as an encroachment, but he manages to win over one of the guests with his impressive skills. Manages to persuade Lu Jin to become his servant. We witness General Zhang and his advisor meeting, mistrusting Lu Jin because to his ambitions to become king, they plot an ambush to remove him from power. The next day, Lu Jin meets with Zhang, and Xiaoyu realizes he is the enigmatic man. Lu Jin promises his allegiance to Zhang and presents them with gifts. Shin cries out to Xiaoyu as he briefly exits the tent. They're relieved to have found one another, but they're still not sure what happened. Xiao, having read the play about this, tells her about Lu Jin and Zhang. It dawns on Shin that they are about to see the murder of Lu Jin. When Shin answers the summons to the tent, she is astounded to learn that the sword dancer is indeed her biological father. Despite his excitement at being back with her, Shin slaps him for being strange. As we also encounter Li in this alternate reality, things continue to get more bizarre. He gets Shin and Zhang into an argument, and Zhang then orders his army to charge. All of a sudden, the lights begin to flash, and they are whisked away again. Time travel takes Xiaoyu back in time, but this time, he finds himself in the role of the nobleman who Lu Jin greets. Xiaoyu continues to identify her as Su, but when Lu Jin's daughter emerges, it is actually Ari. This defies Lu Jin's marriage proposal. To Lu Jin's bewilderment, they are overjoyed to have found one other. The werewolf and Kirin, meantime, have joined Zhang's troops and are planning an ambush for Lu Jin. After attempting to use his magical abilities to escape punishment for speaking, Kirin finds that they are ineffective and is relentlessly thrashed. Hong loses to Zhang, and this time Shin advises him. Even though Shin suggests they talk things out amicably, Zhang is adamant about eliminating Lu Jin. Everything begins to repeat itself the following day. From across the room, Xin attempts to speak with Xiaoyu, but he fails to grasp the meaning. When Lu Jin shows up, we find out that he and Zhong collaborated to destroy the Qin Empire. Xiaoyu is completely unaware of the conspiracy to assassinate Lu Jin, despite Xin's best efforts to enlighten her. Qiren sees Xiaoyu and dashes in, as the troops wait outside for the ambush signal. Nevertheless, Hong also makes an appearance, and upon seeing Qiren, he goes completely insane, viciously attacking him in an attempt to exact revenge for Xin. As the other troops charge in, Xiaoyu manages to rescue Lu Jin. However, this unexpected turn of events infuriates Zhong, who lashes out with a devastating cut, killing Lu Jin and setting off the reincarnation process again. Here we are in the present day, where Ling is attempting to determine the fate of all those involved. Meeting the treasure hunter company's boss happens at that point. Every time Lu Jin is killed, the others are thrown back into a time loop, according to the boss. With each reset, they take on a new role, so we get to witness a variety of tries. Finally, after several failed tries, they locate a scene in which Alm plays Lu Jin. Now that they're alone for a while, Hong finds fault with Xiaoyu for getting them into this jam. They speculate that Xiaoyu's story about inserting his amulet inside the pillar could hold the secret to their freedom. Because her father is now Lu Jin, Xin worries that Dad may really die this time as she attempts to make sense of how they are all shifting roles. Upon witnessing her genuine care for him, Hong is overcome with excitement, but she soon feels remorse. Ari appears as the general, relieving the trio as they attempt to find a solution. The following day, Xiaoyu thinks of a plan to protect Hong from Zhang's soldiers, setting a trap. However, Li shows up and tells him that the traps won't be sufficient. Seeking his assistance, Xiaoyu expresses her desperation. Hong meets with Zhong, and the meeting continues as normal. Xiaoyu engages in a sparring battle with the werewolf while Ari and the troops wait outside. The sight of Zhong getting up causes Xiaoyu concern, but he manages to subdue the escalating altercation. All of a sudden, Ari appears with a shield, and Li rushes over to Xiaoyu, signaling for him to come closer. Xiaoyu and Li attempt to assault Zhong, but they are both repelled, leading to a violent altercation. The troops charge in and encircle Hong. So far, things don't look good. At that moment, Xin rides up on a horse and gets there in the nick of time. Even though they're encircled, the werewolf uses the shield to aid break through the enemy line. As soon as they step outside, they attempt to flee, but the gate is blocked by the troops. Zhong summons his bow as an explosion reverberates through the tent. Xiaoyu leaps to his feet and gives his life as he blocks his bow shot at Hong. The river, however, bypasses him and continues on its way to Hong Kong. They vanish just in time to avoid the arrow, though, because Xiaoyu's amulet is shattered. Xiaoyu finds himself in a strange place, encircled by shattered jades. Upon touching one, he is whisked away to a parallel universe where he witnesses his brother's encounter with Zhong. When Zhang expresses his dissatisfaction with serving the despot who massacred his people, his brother seeks to rally support to topple the Qin Empire. After that, Xiaoyu is whisked away to see the gory scene of Zhang's troops burning and killing thousands of Qin soldiers. As Zhong continues to receive support from Xiaoyu's brother, we witness him donning the ultimate armor that Zhong had requested. As for Hong, he has escaped back to reality as he wakes up beside the metropolis. While Xiaoyu's pals advise Lu Jin, he finds himself fighting alongside Zhong on the battlefield. Even though Xin doesn't understand why the assassins are on their side, Li manages to persuade them that they must cooperate in order to escape. He implies that unless they vanquish Zhong, they will remain ensnared in his consciousness. They advise Lu Jin to attack Zhong in 5 different ways, but they need a general's blessing for this to be successful. In reality, Xiaoyu is a soldier serving under General N's command, and he witnesses the general's ascent to the top of a massive tower. After deciding to seek General N's help, Xin and Ari travel to see him. However, it turns out that Damien is merely acting. Xin and Ari are in for some terrible news because Damien throws them in jail without hesitation. Xin meets with Damien, who informs her that he would rather remain in this realm and promises to give her to Zhong if he can win his favor. After boarding his tower, Damien meets with Zhong to strike a bargain, but on the way there, he is betrayed and Zhong's men charge at him. They are caught unawares, but Damien attempts to defend himself in his tower with a few archers. Right in the thick of it all, Xiaoyu is lying on the ground. Over time, the tower sustains damage and starts to crumble. Zhong charges in and obliterates the fortress. Damien uses a parachute to leap to safety, Xin plummets to the ground, and Xiaoyu spots her. However, Zhong manages to catch Xin and abducts her. After landing in front of Xiaoyu, Damien returns him to the barracks, where Ari scolds him for his foolishness. In spite of his continued reluctance, Damien promises to aid them in their fight against Zhong in response to Xiaoyu's threat. Realizing he needs help saving Xin, Hong approaches the head of the treasure hunter and offers him everything. The boss pulls out the old helmet and claims it will open a portal to another dimension where they can unleash their full potential. When Xin returns to the other side, he finds that Zhong has recognized him and that they met when she took up his helmet a long time ago. Li, Xiaoyu, and the rest plot to surround Zhong and attack him from every angle. To begin, they incite their soldiers to sing in an effort to lower morale among Zhong's forces. It turns out that Lu Jin set up Zhong's attack by sending another squad of troops to flank Zhong's force. Zhong says he is searching for Xiaoyu and joins Xin at the bow while one of Hong's men puts on the helmet to link to the other realm. As he surges forward, Zhong becomes an unbeatable opponent. He manages to get past all of the guards and obstacles. Nobody can resist him, and he finally approaches Kirin, who deftly blocks his blade. His confidence grows as his powers come back, but he is still easily stunned. The werewolf attempts to defend himself by assuming his monstrous shape, but it is ultimately insufficient, and he is brutally subjugated. Xiaoyu jumps at the chance to rescue Xin from Zhong because he can't take it anymore. In a second, Xiaoyu's blade breaks as he confronts Zhong. He is warned by Xin that he is the target of Zhong. Xiaoyu tries to shoot Zhong from above, but he gets cut in two instead. But it's all an illusion, conjured up by Li's wizardry on some paper. As the clone diverts Zhong's attention, Xiaoyu successfully saves Xin. After Ari and Damien launch an all-out assault on Zhong, the latter is overwhelmed and hurls his spear at Xiaoyu. It nearly explodes but misses them by the narrowest of margins. The load is too great for the helmet, and Hong's guy can no longer see. Because he thinks the worst is yet to happen, Hong begins to worry. Zhong suddenly appears from behind a gate as the spear whisks Xiaoyu and Xin away to an unfamiliar region. According to Zhong, this is the cell he has been confined in. Fearing for his safety, Xiaoyu fashioned an armor that would protect him physically, but imprison his spirit within. His brother eventually learned to fear him. Zhong is on the hunt for Xiaoyu's amulet because he thinks it holds the secret to breaking his curse. After Xiaoyu's brother hears Zhong curse at him, he becomes enraged but ultimately defeated by Zhong's might. No matter how hard Xiaoyu tries, he will never succeed. After Zhong smacks Xin away for trying to help, he tells Xiaoyu that women have saved his family time and time again. Following Xiaoyu's brother's escape, Sasha steps forward in a flashback to assume full responsibility. Xiaoyu retaliates by attempting to surprise Zhong with his bow, but Zhong manages to catch it and uses it to stab Xiaoyu. In order to use the amulet's power, Zhong takes it from Xiaoyu and breaks it. Jade stones around them, and Zhong can make out the contemporary world beyond. The actual world sees the emergence of pillars, and timelines are thrown into disarray. As the jades start to blend together, more and more structures pop up in the actual world. Something shifts in the sky, and a doorway materializes. Xiaoyu apologizes to Xin for endangering her, and it appears like all hope is lost. Xiaoyu explains to Zhong that his brother taught him to keep going even when things get tough. Zhong is shocked by Xiaoyu's comeback. After getting tossed again when hitting Zhong, Xiaoyu decides to take aim at the jade stones instead. Even as he destroys jades, Xiaoyu evades strikes. In a moment of intense seriousness, Zhong stabs Xiaoyu. Just as Zhong is about to kill him, the other heroes show up and begin systematically smashing the jade stones. Finally, Xiao summons his latent abilities and fights back. Zhang loses it when the jades continue to crumble. He calls upon his spear, stabs one of the jades, and the resulting rays seem to kill Qirin before he crumbles to dust. While Zhong navigates the battlefield with the help of the jades, Xiaoyu relentlessly pursues him. In the jades, they battle it out, continually shifting between eras as Qin and the others flee toward the gateway. Xiaoyu refuses to surrender and continues to battle Zhong from within the jades, gradually weakening Zhong's soul. As Zhong's awareness starts to wane, the link to the actual world starts to erode. Stabbing Xiaoyu and cursing his immortality, he plans to keep Xiaoyu in this world with him. He then attempts to murder Qin, but Xiaoyu gathers the strength to stand up and fire an arrow at him. A beam of light suddenly emanates from Zhong, signaling his eventual defeat. As Xiaoyu's world begins to fall apart, Qin reaches out to aid her. While everyone else begins to pass through the portal, Ari remains fixated on the light. She goes completely black, and the blackness radiates outwards from her. Xiaoyu and Qin hastily make their way to the gateway as Xiaoyu thinks something is up with her. He notices the enigmatic figure when he turns around, but that's not the end of the tale. Thank you for watching to this point. This is not the end. For part 2, don't forget to like and subscribe. We got other interesting anime recaps for you. Choose the left or the right video.